Here we are in the end of 2020, the time we thought would never come, right? We're not going to do a rehash of 2020. I think we've been doing that since March, right? Test, retest, look what's looked in the past, look what's working. And that's what we've done up to this point. And that's what these videos have been about, right? It's been about making adaptations along the way and keep looking at what's going to work best for you in your healthcare business. And I think we all realize that what works best in your healthcare business, in any healthcare business, to have the right foundation for a business, right? All successful businesses use the same structure, same template. The pandemic did not change the structure of a successful business. We all go further into the weeds and we're going, oh, we've got to change a business. And I'm like, no, you got to change some service delivery. You got to do things like that, but you're not changing the structure and the blueprint of a successful business because of a pandemic. So that's been a big theme all along, and I'm actually currently working with some people that engage me after they realized they didn't have the structure and the blueprint. And so when the chaos came, it was magnified, something fierce. And so people don't confuse the chaos that happened with the pandemic as you needing to add new services, you needing to do new things, right, within your business. It should take you farther back and make you look higher up and go, have I set up and structured and used the foundational structure of what a business is? That term pivot, you guys heard that a lot in 2020. Pivoting means you just turn and manipulate some systems, manipulate some service delivery. Yet you can only pivot if you had the structure, if you had the foundations for a proper business first. So, that's the biggest takeaway from 2020 with 3 days left, right? I think we're 3 days, 2 days left. That's the biggest takeaway. And that's really going into 2021 and where all of December has been spent me talking about the foundations and the structures and the blueprints and the templates for a successful business and ... in healthcare, right? So we take that structure, we take that template, and we apply it to healthcare. Nothing changes much. Just got to look at who you can help, who you can serve, got to look at what you can serve them with, got to understand their journey within your business, right? And really, that's one of the biggest things. You can almost skip 1 and 2, map out the journey of your client, and then go back and go, okay, who do I want to put into the system? Yet, it works best if you go in that order. And if you don't know your client's journey in your business, you can't deliver consistently, and you won't be able to take any hit. Forget the pandemic and its impact. This is whatever, once in a lifetime. I'm talking about cuts in insurance rates, cuts in payment rates, right? Other things like that. Competition moving into your area, right? Those are the things you won't survive without understanding your ideal client, what you're serving them with, and their journey in your business, in your practice. And if you do that first, you can survive. Because then it becomes a weekend chore, a weekend job. And I used that example in 2020 of all those people out of telehealth and got no one to engage with them regarding telehealth. I'm like, that's not a telehealth issue. It's a business issue. It's a relationship issue. That's a understanding your client issue. That's a understanding the core of the business blueprint, the business structure issue. Because what comes after you build out that patient life cycle is you figure out how to deliver, right, an experience that people will remember. Because let's not forget, I'm reading a book currently. I love it. It's a restaurant book. I got to tell you guys, I've learned more from restaurant books in my career than anything else. Whether the structure of restaurants, the building of a restaurant, the growing of a restaurant, the story of a chef, the story of a restaurant business person. Because a restaurant is like the king of systems. Think about coordinating all those people, right? There's a front of house, there's a back of house, right? There's a product, there's a service. Very much like a healthcare business. And understanding the coordination between the front and the back and all the people working behind the scenes, right? Not just the food on the plate. So I'm reading a business book now, and it's just, it's kicking everything back into gear that, it's this understanding of the whole structure and the systems and how to get from A to B to C to D to E. And if you understand that first, I've said this, and something happens to your business, then you can quickly shift or pivot out of that. Without the foundation, without the structure, you will continue to move in and out of chaos, right? Medicare suspends payments for a month, right? Government shuts down, you don't get Medicare checks for 30 days. Okay. If you've been collecting, if you have a system in place to collect copays and make sure you're collecting 98% of your copays over the front desk, right? And that right there, you're like, cool, I'm glad we've been doing this because, we can ride this out 30 days, 60 days. But if you don't even have a system in place for collecting copays, then it's going to be major chaos once again. And so really the circles back to me in 2021, right? Really diving into and expanding on this patient life cycle, right? 2020, as we were headed into March, it was really about the front desk and front desk success, and it will always be my go-to, shall we say. But really what I want for 2021 is, as I saw 2020 unfold from March and beyond to today, is the front desk is not enough. The front desk is an important step, but it's only a part of a process, right? For those of you who've seen my patient life cycle recently, and if you want that, just comment life cycle in the comments, that there is a lot of interactions and a lot of things going on in your practice, in your business, outside of the clinical interaction. So the provider with the patient. Everybody builds their healthcare practice built around the clinician, the provider, and the patient. And I'm like, that's such a small part. And it's only a part of your business. What about all these other places, right? And this is why understanding that patient life cycle and getting that dialed in, getting that mapped out. It's never dialed in. You're always tweaking it, by the way, right? But we want to get it better and better and better and better, and then have it here where we're just tweaking all the time in this area instead of in this area. And if you map that out, you understand there are a lot of touch points, a lot of interactions with non-licensed, non-clinical people. And then you start to look at those, and understand that there are solutions to problems within those touch points outside of the clinical relationship. And you know what else is interesting? A little side note. We put too much on the providers, right? The financial talk, the financial conversation shouldn't be in the room. The clinician should be aware, right? Do we take their insurance or not? Do they have a high deductible? All this, right? They're not going to treat people any differently. Hear me out. The provider needs to know, because it's all part of the social determinants. It's all part of the patient's context. So within the bigger picture, the provider needs to know, but the provider shouldn't be having financial conversations in the sense of insurance and EOBs and what's owed and what's not and what the payment plan looks like. No, the provider is there to be the clinical expert, give them a diagnosis, tell them what's wrong, and to show them their journey to get back to their desired outcome. So if we settle in on that and we have the patient life cycle in front of us, we realize there's all this work to be done before someone arrives, right? And then they meet the clinician, right here. Then they meet the clinician. And then even during that journey, there's still support to be played by other people on the team. But after that journey is over, what needs to happen next? This is one of the biggest things, right? What happens after that journey is over? What happens after a completed course of care? That's what your patient life cycle allows you to map out and create the systems and the processes that are reproducible, that are consistent. And that's what every great business on the face of the earth has done. I've said this many times in these videos. Who they serve, what they're serving them with, and what that journey looks like within their business. So in 2021, I'm going to stay on the front desk stuff. Have to, because it's part of the process. Yet what I want people to see is there's more than just that. And if you're going to spend the time and the money to invest in the front desk, you've got to invest in the whole process. And so with the front desk, typically introduce people to the patient life cycle, but don't make them do much work within that. Now in 2021, right, there's got to be work done. There's got to be an understanding of the tasks. There's got to be an understanding, not a picture, not a brief look at, not a brief conversation about where this front desk fits within this whole patient life cycle. How does the front desk connect to the providers? How do the providers connect to the front desk? How does billing How does payment connect with the front desk? How does marketing connect with the front desk? So I have the patient life cycle. I also have the flow of the business, which is attraction, sell, retain, and referral. The flow of the business overlaps your patient life cycle, right? So what do you have to be thinking about during marketing, during selling, for retention? Just had a great call yesterday with one of my virtual front desk people and an owner of a clinic, and we're working on retention. Well, the great thing about the call was we had the front desk person, and then we had the owner who was in the mindset of the provider, right? And what we were working on for a retention solution was even talked about as marketing further upstream. So we talked about attraction, we talked about selling, and then we talked about the work the provider had to do. Only after we talked about marketing, attraction, and selling. If you want better retention and you go to your providers and start unloading on them again, here we go again, we're making a clinical experience. The best way to improve retention is the work you do before that person even shows up in your business. And that's the work for 2021. And I don't mean I'm going to take over your marketing, because I don't do that. But what I'm going to make you do is examine what's going on with the marketing. How is marketing and sales connected? How is your marketing, your sales, and your retention connected? And then how is marketing, sales, retention, and referral connected within your patient life cycle? Again, attraction, sell, retention, referral is the flow of the business. The patient life cycle, right, is the journey, the interaction, your touch points of your clients, of your patients, of the person who's not even a patient. That's the other thing too. If you think about it, the patient life cycle engages and makes you think about what's happening to people before they ever arrive in your clinic, right? Which is one of the biggest, bestest things you can do in your business. And then the end of it, post-course of care, what do you do when they're not in your business? Because all anybody wants to worry about is what happens when they arrive and in that clinical space. And I got a big dirty secret for you. They can find a lot of your solutions elsewhere. So if you're selling products, if you're selling services, if you're selling exercise, if you're selling manual therapy, and this is what's funny about clinicians discussing about what we do and what our expertise is. I'm like, we always go down this rabbit hole. I'm like, everything in this page can be delivered by multiple different groups of people. Why do they choose us? Well, the research says why they choose us. And I mentioned that earlier, and I've mentioned it before. People don't want manual therapy. People don't want the million other things we sell. They want the expert. So we got to go a level above. So what are you selling in your practice? And you understand your patient life cycle. You understand you can start selling it far earlier. Bestest, easiest way to get someone to arrive, pay, stay, and do your marketing with you is make sure they know that you're the right fit for them before they ever arrive. The business as an ecosystem, the further upstream we go, the bigger impact we can have, which in turn will make sure that you can serve all those people in your community, regardless of pandemic, regardless of a Medicare cut, regardless of anything, because people will be making a decision not based on the payer source. They will be making a decision based on, are you the right fit? Can you deliver what I value? And it'll get you out of the mindset of we need more new patients. I worked with a group, the same group that's working on retention, and we looked at their number of new patients. And it was awesome because the owner didn't call me and say, I need more new patients. He says, I need to work on retention. He broke down his numbers because he tracks what happens to people, his drop-offs, the people who complete a course of care, what happens to them. He knows that more time, money, and energy needs to be spent on the people who already understand his business, who have come into his business. This is because he understands his patient's life cycle and the flow of the business. So there's no more, I need more new patients when you have a greater than 10% drop-off, because you're already putting people into the system and churning them out. You spent all that money to get someone in the front door, and now when they churn out, you want to spend more money to get another person in the front door. Like, you already spent the money. Why don't you do the work now to keep them, to get them to complete a course of care, to get them to that patient success that I call. This will be 2021. 2021. You'll still hear the front desk stuff. You'll still see the front desk stuff. Yet there's going to be more work that you need to do to understand where it is. The people having the greatest success right now with my front desk are connecting the dots outside of class. They're holding their front desk accountable, yet they're going to their providers. They're looking at their marketing. They're doing the work to make sure that the work done at the selling portion of the flow of the business, the front desk, the front line, that continues, and that the work done there continues. Because why? Because patients are being successful. That, in a nutshell, is 2021, right? There will be front desk work, but there'll be more work to be done. Most of what I'll be doing is still probably 4 to 6 month work with you. Might be within a group. Just started a small group. It's going very well. Taking just a handful of business owners and putting them in a group. Still working through all these same things I told you, but allowing them, and by allowing them, it's not like I prevent them, but pushing them, shall we say, nudging them into a group of other business owners. Because what I love about the group I have right now, they're all over the board about where they are in their journey, so they can help each other. I'm not leaving it up to the group to teach each other, but within that group, people are going to learn more. They're going to find resources that I wouldn't know about, that I wouldn't be able to help them out. As we're doing the work to map out their life cycle, as we're doing the work to make sure they understand the flow of their business and the systems and the processes that need to go in place, they're also talking to other like-minded business owners who understand the value of understanding the patient life cycle and understanding the flow of the business. So have that, still doing one-on-one work with some larger groups that need the one-on-one time and don't need to be in a group per se. They need to make some changes today because they're big and the ROI is impactful and they need more attention. Just think about it, right? San Francisco Bay turning an ocean liner versus turning a little speedboat. It's going to take them longer to turn. It's going to cost them more money to keep delivering the same way, right? And then there will be front desk training. That's going to be grouped up into small groups again. Probably groups of 5. Just had a group of 5 and went really, really well. With the same mindset around the group training for the business coaching. So there'll be front desk training, the old-fashioned stuff, where I'm still making them do more work on the patient life cycle. There will be group business training. I call that business efficiency training because the sooner you get this done, the more efficient your business will run, the greater ROI will serve. There's the small group business efficiency training, and then there's the one-on-one. That's what's up for me with 2021, with all the theme and everything I spoke about up to that point. So I'm happy to chat with anybody about their business. Last week, we talked about compassion and caring, right? You need systems, you need processes. And if you didn't watch my last video, go onto my YouTube page and pull up the compassion and caring video. And I tell you how this feeds exactly into what the research has proven about compassion and caring. A, people get better. B, your business does better. It's that simple. And this is what I'm bringing people around to. You need systems and processes for compassion and caring. Patient success will lead to business success. This research validates that. So it's time, my friends. Relationships, trust building, they need a process. Telling people you care without showing me their life cycle is an empty promise. If you can't show me your patient's life cycle, you can't truly say you care about someone through their course of care with your business. If you can't tell me the journey they're on in your business, if the front desk doesn't know the patient's goals along with the providers, then how are you going to connect all the dots? How are you going to make sure visit after visit this person returns to complete a course of care? That's what this is all about. Patient success, business success, personal success. All right, it's always been that way. There's a foundation and structure for business success, which does what? Number one foundation and structure and rule for business success is understand your customer and make sure you understand how to make them successful. Same thing. Well, here we are. This is it. Next time I see you, it'll be 2021. This was the year we thought would never end, but I'll tell you, you learned something. I hope your reflections have brought you back to the work that needs to be done. There's always work to be done, right? I'm tweaking my stuff. Yet, again, the work to be done is to make sure you have the foundations and the structure set for a successful business so that you can create patient success by helping more people in your community, which will flow directly to business success. I can help. If you want my life cycle I mentioned about, type life cycle. If you want to have a conversation, you can reach out to me privately on Facebook Messenger. If you want to have a conversation, you can type in conversation if that's what you want to do. If we're not connected on Facebook, even if we're not following each other, I'll still see the message. Pretty sure. All right. Life cycle, if you want the life cycle, and conversation, if you want to have a conversation or message me on Facebook. And that's what 2021 looks like for Jerry. Deeper dive into the business stuff for everybody. Connecting the front desk to the providers to the post-course of care. Still be doing the front desk training because, again, with the ecosystem of the business, the further upstream you go, the bigger impact you'll have. So I'll still do the front desk training, yet make people engage more in understanding their patient life cycle along the way. All right, reach out. Happy to have a conversation. Follow me here on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. You'll see all this stuff shared. Okay? All right, people. Thanks for coming. Thanks for a solid 2020. I know in context of what's going on in 2020, it's hard to say solid year with all these people dying, this thing that's going on. Yet, you need to reflect back and congratulate yourself in the spots you should. What did you learn? What changes did you make? What are you doing going into 2021 because of what you learned in 2020? There's nothing wrong with being positive about that, right? And what are you doing to set yourself up for future success? In this whole term about bulletproofing your business, recession-proofing your business, all that means is you understand the fucking business, the business of business, the template, the structure of your clients, their life cycle, the systems, the processes. So if you have to do that word pivot, if you have to do anything else, if another fucking bat virus, you've been managing your clients, your customers in a manner that will allow you to shift your services a little bit and not have to shut down. All right, all. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time and energy you put into 2020. I'll be back next week. Just another week, ready to hit the ground running. All right, next week we jump back into it. There is no more reflecting next week. All right, December was for reflecting and acting. Next week, we just hit the ground running. Cheers, all.